I'm in such pain, I'm gonna die. My ovaries really hurt. Ovary pain is so huge. It is a real, it's very painful. The ovaries hurt me. They hurt me big time. And I'm not having a very comfortable time. But I'm coming of age. I'm becoming an adolescent. Uh, Again, I am becoming an adolescent, and ovaries here, this ovary hurts me big time. I vacuumed the whole apartment. I took my gloves because I put rings. I put on Yakov's grandmother. But also, it's interesting that not only Yakov Gross, but also also the writer Günter Grass. He wrote the Tin Can. Never laugh at the Tin Can Man. Look, the Tin Can Man is an apotheosis of the lunar lander module that has landed to the moon in 1969 in July, and that was a very fragile construction that managed to take human to a different celestial body in joint effort of the intelligentsia of the certain areas. Doesn't matter of nationality. Well, yes, with the American flag. That tin can suit of the Tin Can Man. Like, it is never underestimate The Wizard of Oz, a film from 1939. It was filmed in 1939, and it tells a portraits a portrait of four misfits. Well, I'm not saying that, but particularly the female protagonist in the Ruby Slippers has been but then they went through a tornado. I've seen tornadoes. I haven't seen a tornado, but there have been like tornado alerts. I've seen an earthquake. I mean, I've experienced an earthquake. Yet that protagonist, the good witch, like the good fairy. Witch means there's nothing wrong with it. It means a person who is capable of carrying out and putting into life, creating really good deeds. Not only deeds like through human, but like through good intentions you have, and you create good. Good is a very simple noun. That the good things are taking place. So definitely not the bad, terrible. Or then okay, that film is it's a very good classic film, The Wizard of Oz, and I actually do. It's true that people should watch it again. I've watched it when I was watching it many times. Watched it together in that film I watched. I've been learning. No, I knew English before. I've started learning English. Well, when have you started English? I have started learning English at the age of 2.5 from Brave Kid. There was a handbook called Brave Kid, and Super Child, and generally yes. So okay, yeah, but The Wizard of Oz. Well, I loved it. It was my favorite thing ever. That, Cinderella, The Little Mermaid, The Little Mermaid, The Beauty and the Beast, and those are definitely so. Don't simply not make fun of Tin Can Man or the Lion, definitely. But those are definitely like misfits. But they have achieved greatness. They met the Wizard of Actually, I am wearing a Sauvage. No, the one that's soft. No, I'm wearing like, oh, right, the grandmother portrait of the grandmother of Yakov Gross. But he also said my mother. He said my mama. My mama wore a lot of layers of dresses, but also, it's interesting because you get the same portrait of the same woman, same lady, in the book. Have you read Kosinski? Kosinski, Jersey Kosinski, who his name was Chaim Heimovitz, who wrote The Painted Bird. So if you read The Painted Bird, in that, or his other novels, but most of all, it was The Painted Bird that Marquez, for the 100 años de la felicidad. Okay, so they got a Pulitzer, and Kosinski has, it was kind of brutal, and then from a guy from Uruguay, no, Marquez, his nationality was he was from north of Peru. So yeah, he won for 100 años de felicidad. Well, that sucked. It was about nothing. It's dream realism. It's really lame, and it's yeah. But Kosinski, maybe it was too brutal or stuff. But he was spending time. He lived in New York City. He lived in Manhattan. He lived in Manhattan in the town. It's in Manhattan in the house. He lived, and some of the novels, the perfect, like they're great acquaintances, strangers, spouses, wife and husband. So man, that's right. Well, he wrote a thing like that, and it was a novel about a supermodel who was all day spending time with being a supermodel. But then but The Painted Bird is a book about the Holocaust, and the people that burrowed in the 70s could not swallow that content, or they didn't read it, or it was too brutal. Right. I love this juxtaposition of the colors. It's amazing. The duality. It's not duality. It's like this is called when you're married, swallowed, and it's wonderful. It's just so beautiful. So yeah. So okay. And Kosinski, Jersey Kosinski. His real name was. He also wrote The Gardener. He wrote Being There. The novel Being There, about a man who's in his 50s, and he's been gardening all his life, and he lives with an older man who never sees the older man, and it's like those are like mysterious shit. That's not shit. Matters. Inyanim things are matters, and also in the book about the biographical book by Jersey Kosinski. He lives with he lives with an old woman. Don't we all? And but in the novel Being There, the main character of the Being There lives with some man who he never sees. And he just gardens all his life, and he's a 50-year-old virgin. He's never been outside of the home, and then he becomes a very prominent politician because out of the sudden he becomes very famous. So in that portrait, there is also a portrait in The Painted Bird, but that's another different novel about a young boy who's been through the Holocaust, and that's 100% autobiographical of Jersey Kosinski, who was born. He was born in 1937, and yes, I mean his parents were young, and they did not. His mom was Jewish, and they did not predict that the Second World War will erupt. And of course there was anti-Semitism, but they didn't think that it would be as it was. So eventually he was separated from his parents. And he spent a really horrible time as a young boy because he was a Jewish boy, and it was really bad because he like wandered around villages, and the people, well, and sometimes like he had foster parents. He had like other people taking care of him. But then eventually in the 70s he immigrated to Manhattan in the house. So that's what he did, and there he also portrayed briefly his mother, but Yakov Gross also. He's like my mother Sala. Sula, which is like a version of Sarah, is Abraham Lincoln. Any Abraham's Lincoln, I guess. And then, like my mother Sarah would wear 15,000 different dresses and skirts, and because why? Because Jewish ladies are modest. They have this canons of beauty, not to. No, they're not a bat zona, or just like like a really person who like goes naked. They wear a lot of layers because it's also like, but also they were in a concentration camp. They were like, had to like. I've been in a concentration camp 2 years ago, a modern concentration camp, and I had to strip down from everything. Like, look, now I'm dressed like a $5,000 million baby child girl. And baby girl, I'm dressed so amazing. I have a cinturon, which has space rocks on it, and I have a expensive Swedish sweatshirt that has my name on it. Okay, and I have a crayon pin. I have literally different layers of dresses. One dress that I have. There's like another dress, moon dress under this dress, but those are expensive dresses. See, this is called a boner situation, and then I have like that and that. So those are at least different layer. I have the savage top bustier, and my ovaries are hurting, and also I have like a organic cotton black coffee company tank top. So in the concentration camp, where who has put me in the concentration camp, I had to strip down literally, and and be, well, those were not striped pajamas, but I was like, they made me wear, like when they made those stupid idiotic masks 2 years ago, for the so-called pandemic, the masks that are like made out of like a paper, kind of like turquoise horrible thing. So the pajamas that are like, put this on, and then they were like, people were undergoing torture. Torture, because if you're in seclusion, not seclusion, or really bad conditions, without food, without toilet paper, without bathroom, running water, and you're in prison for the fuck reason.